Is watching all of this more closely than the 41st President of the United States, the father of the 43rd President. Former President George Bush has stayed out of public view until today. He flew from Boston to Texas to make a statement about airline safety. And before he left, I asked if he had a role in decision-making at the White House these days.
It's hard for people to understand this. I'm not hovering over the shoulders with advice. I don't have the information to give sound advice anymore. I don't have access to the intelligence that Secretary Powell does, or Vice President Cheney, or Secretary Rumsfeld, or Condi Rice, or the President had. And I learned long ago, you ought not to be giving a lot of opinions unless you know what the hell you're talking about.
Is this going to be tougher than Desert Storm?
It's different. In Desert Storm, we knew who the enemy was, and we knew where the enemy was. And we had a mission. And the mission was to kick the enemy out of Kuwait. This isn't for just one battle or one cruise missile. This can be an ongoing problem here. And the enemy is much more elusive, equally as formidable in the sense of being, I would use the word evil.
Invariably, there's always second-guessing at a time like this. Some people are saying, well, we should have taken Saddam Hussein out back during Desert Storm.
At the time, we stopped the war, won the war, because our mission was complete. I didn't hear any of these voices. Now, because Saddam is in a while, they're saying, hey, you should have done something different. I don't think so. Where I was wrong is I thought he would be done in by his own people. And I based that opinion on the opinion of every single coalition leader, every single Arab leader in the Gulf, and because I didn't want mission creep.
Going to have to play by down and dirty rules from now on?
You're going to, well, we got to be careful, I think. Again, I'm a little reluctant to go into this because the president has to wrestle with these problems, but I think you got to be respectful of the rights of privacy of Americans. But we better find a way to tap into some of this internet stuff, and we better find a way to protect the sources and methods of intelligence.
And some suppression of some civil liberties at home?
Again, Tom, I'm not privy to what the administration's trying to do. I have not asked the president about that. And so there may be some compromises. But ask the people and ask the firefighters in New York, ask the police officers here in Logan, whether you give a little to get a lot. And I expect they'd say, well, what is it? But yeah, it put me down as wanting to cooperate.
Later, I'll have more of this exclusive interview with former President Bush, the personal side, the personal pride of being a parent of a president. Can you imagine being the parent of a president at a time such as this, especially if you've been the president yourself? Tonight, for the first time since this crisis began, former President George Bush talks publicly and personally about a father, mother, and their son. As a former and as the father of this president, as you have watched him over the last couple of weeks, what has surprised you about him?
Well, I think the speech he gave to the Congress will live in American history as one of the truly great speeches. But what I'm proud of is the way he's measuring up to this test, and the way he's leading, and the way he's focused, and the way he's determined. And this thing about faith, I mean, this is real for him. This is real. Here's a man that's read the Bible through twice, and it's not to make it holier than thou, or not to make a political point. It's something that is in his heart.
When you're on the phone to him, is it sometimes difficult to even continue the conversation because of the emotions that are involved?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how is Mrs. Bush doing?
Hadn't changed a bit, unfortunately. Still balls him out. Still worships Laura and her son.
Does she yell back at the television set?
41 too. Oh no, she's terrible about the media. Don't bring that up. Oh gosh, she's outrageous. But wonderful, and people still love her all across the country.
We were all so touched when, after he finished that memorable speech at the memorial service and sat down next to you, you reached over and put your hand on him in the most reassuring and affectionate way. What did you and Mrs. Bush say to each other after you saw the speech that many people say is one of the very best speeches that has very best speeches that recent memory.
I'm 77, so I'm entitled to shed a few tears. And I got quite emotional at a couple of points. And I didn't want to kind of lose it there, but you just have this overwhelming pride in recognizing at the same time, because I have been president, the enormous problems that any president, but in this case because it's our son, faces. This is a huge challenge for the president and for this experienced team he has around him.
My entire interview with former President Bush will be shown tonight at 11 on MSNBC on cable and again tomorrow morning on Today.